Hi, everybody. Welcome to 5 Minutes with Diversity. My name is Ian Drake, and I'm the owner and operator of Diversity Consignment here in Boston. Today, I want to share an experience that I had recently. A couple weeks ago, I was invited to a reality fair at a local high school over in Hyde Park. And I thought it was a very interesting experience. I was able to set up a booth very similar to what we would have as like a consignment section of diversity. And the students were able to pick a career that they would like to pursue. Could have been doctor, lawyer, accountant, anything like that. That was assigned a yearly salary, and they had to go to each one of the stations and essentially experience what life is like allocating the money that they have to various resources. So, great concept. Wish we had that at my high school. I think a lot of kids can really benefit from this type of experience. So, let's say you're a doctor, right? And you pick $150,000 salary or whatever it was. I don't know the exact figures, but first stop was at the CPA, and they were to do your taxes, and what you were left with is what you were left with. Then, you would go to, I think they had Mercedes dealership there, some representatives, and they went over there and, it's getting a car, getting your car payment, and essentially they were just retracting money from what their pool was. So it was kind of interesting being a consignment shop there, because in one way you can purchase things here, obviously, and in another way you can actually add money to your budget. So I kind of took that approach, and it was just really cool seeing the different approaches that each one of the students had, because some of them were like very conservative with their money. Some of them were very frivolous with their money spending. They'd come up to me, I'd be like, are you looking to consign something today? And they'd be like, yeah, sure, like one item out of your closet. Okay, you're gonna get $15 for that item. And do you want to buy anything today? And they'd be like, either they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna get a bracelet, something cheap, and I want to save my money. Or they'd be like, I want the Louis Vuitton and this, that, and the other thing. It's like $1,000 later, of this like mock situation. But it was fun. The one thing that I would note that really stood out to me, I think, was what I really want to talk about is the approach that some of the adults had, who were making up this fabulous, reality fair. Again, I think it's one of the best things that I've ever been a part of, and I think that every high school should have something like this. I just think the mentality, sometimes we can forget, what it is that high schoolers, just where their mental state is. And so, when I was talking to some people, they'd be like, we're trying to get these kids to understand that it's not important about brands, and that stuff doesn't matter, and your style's not gonna make a difference, in terms of your life and your career. And I just think that that's kind of missing the ball on where a high schooler's mentality is, because we've all been in high school, and some things that matter in high school, of course, they don't apply to the future and life. But you got to remember that these kids are living in that reality right now. We might have the wisdom of the future to say, like, these things don't matter. And, I have my opinions on that regardless. I do believe that fashion is one of the most expressive things that we have in life, especially to express our inward emotions and things like, you can do that through style. So I do think that it does have value in life, a lot of value in life. It's we do it every day. We dress ourselves every day. So, but aside from that, someone might be into labels in high school because for a variety of reasons. One of them being, they might get made fun of if they're wearing certain brands. And when I was in high school, Champion was like insanely cheap, and it was sold at Walmart. And like if you wore it, then you might get picked on. And to the degree that that impacts a high schooler's life, it could be irrelevant, or it could be very severe, and I think mental health is plays a part in this. So to say like, yeah, the logo, it's just a logo, okay, but also it might be a representation of this student's status or the way that they get along with their friends, and in some ways it might have a bigger impact on their lives than it does on our lives as like grown adults. So I don't want to say that it's this big deal, but it's not a big deal. But I mean, it may matter to them. My approach was more, you can't put your brain, your 30, 40, 50-year-old brain inside the brain of a high schooler and expect them to just get it. You might impact one or two people, but I wouldn't be disappointed if nobody listened to me, because high schoolers just have a tendency not to listen anyway, especially if they're rebellious. And so my approach is more, you like these things? Well, here are the options where you can find them affordably. Like you're gonna want the Polo logo no matter what. So you could either spend $150 on it, brand new, or maybe there are some options out there where you could source it, sustainably, ethically, and save yourself $145. Or, you know what I mean? So I think that approach makes it a lot easier for a high schooler to comprehend, the ethics involved with it and still maintain whatever status it is that they want to maintain, right? So don't spend all your money on these things. If it's something you have to have, and I get it, like, this can be a matter of like whether your tomorrow is like, can be filled with anxiety, or your tomorrow you're feeling confident and you're satisfied, because clothing can make you confident, or like understanding that you look good can make you confident. So I wouldn't take that away from somebody by just, here, take away that Polo shirt and here's a Cutter and Buck, whatever, you know what I mean? Like no logo shirt. Like it means a lot more to them than it does to us. So that being said, obviously I was showing them that diversity consent. They're like, I could get those brands there? Like, yeah, and here's what it's costing. It's gonna cost you $10 or $15 or something. Even something that's like on the luxury end, it's like, okay, that might retail for $1,000, and your friend may have purchased it for $1,000, and he's walking around with this LV backpack or Gucci backpack or whatever. If it comes in here, it might be $275. Okay, so it's like, yeah, it's still expensive, but at least you're saving some money and you're thinking logistically through life. So I think that's all I really had to say. And again, shout out to the people who put on the reality fair, because it was awesome. And again, I just think that it's a very important thing for these kids to just understand that money is not everything, but you gotta allocate it in certain ways, or else it's just gonna be gone and you're gonna be struggling. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. If you have any comments or questions, or you want to add some input, go ahead and add it to the comments section. Take care. Bye.